If a black child is raised to believe God was white, the mind of the African child will assume all white people are divine. And if everyone is inferior to the Almighty, and the Almighty is white, then black people naturally should be inferior to the European. In America, we talk about the inferiorization of black children. And I have to often let the community know our children were not taught to hate themselves by white public schools. Not initially. They were taught to hate themselves at black Sunday schools at church. We gave them white Jesus. We gave them white angels. We gave them white prophets. And you wonder why they feel inferior. Because if God is white, by contraindication, the devil must already be black. My cousin, the Honorable Frederick Douglass, the greatest leader to ever walk American soil, was mixed race. His mother, my Aunt Harriet, was by the slave master. It ain't his fault. Some argue that the prophet Nat Turner, the greatest revolutionary to walk on American soil, he was the product of a white father. We're not responsible for how we come into the world, but we're responsible what we do once we hear. Pan-Africanism means oneness. Oneness. And in order to get there, we got to stop the tribalism. The petty differences between the Eritrean and the Ethiopian, we got to get over it. The petty differences between the Yoruba and the Igbo, we got to get over it. The petty differences between the Maasai and the Kikuyu, we got to get over it. The petty differences between the Muslim and the Christian, we got to get over it. The light skin and the dark skin, we got to get over it. Chancellor Williams, if you haven't read the book, The Destruction of African Civilization, by Chancellor Williams, you should read it. Chancellor Williams, who's now an ancestor, was one of our Grand Master teachers. And in the beginning of the book, he talks about the fact that the white man was able to do what he did in Africa during slavery and colonization because we as African people were already practicing tribalism and divisionism. The white man did not introduce conflict into African people. We were already conflicting with each other. All he did was exploit the pre-existing differences. That's all he does now. In Sweden, he's going to exploit the pre-existing differences. The question before we hate racism more than we hate each other. Because that's the problem. Many of us hate each other more than we hate racism. One of the biggest reasons we don't elect the best people for the job in Africa during election season, or in Central and South America, or the United States during election season is because of tribalism. I know the person representing my tribe might not be the best person for the job, but guess what? I don't want one of them other people in charge. So I'm going to vote corruption into office. I know he ain't going to do a good job, but I'd rather my tribe be in charge. You cannot be a tribalist and a Pan-Africanist. That's a contradiction. You can be proud of your kingdom. You should be. Be proud of your flag, your colors, your language, your culture. Be proud of it. Diversity is a good thing. We don't have to be a monolith. We don't have to be a utopia, but we must operate on oneness. Marcus Garvey said, put the race first. He said the white man is a white man before he's a Christian. The Arab is an Arab before he's a Muslim. You never see the white man stand with another Christian before he stands with a white man. You never see the Arab stand with another race before he stands with the Arab. But we will stand with people who don't look like us or care about us because they pray the way we do. That is religious immaturity. Your religion should support your political struggle. And if your religion doesn't support your political struggle, your religion is an instrument of the devil. We are at war for the survival of African people. Wherever I go in the world, I see 4 constants. 4 constants everywhere in the world. I was in Australia a few months ago for the first time. Same constants. Africa, the same constants. Europe, Asia, United States, the same constants. And what are the 4 constants? White Jesus is one of them. Black children being raised to pray to the enemy's image. And you got to be careful for those of y'all who have children. Because you might say, Dr. Uma, I don't have no white Jesus in my house, but do you got white doll babies and toys in your house? Are there white cartoons all in your house? Is your black baby being raised on a steady diet of racial inferiority? Because let me tell you something about the brain. And as a psychologist, I guess I know something about the brain. Everything that's stored in your mind is stored as an image. Image. Your mind don't store words. Your mind converts those words into images. Your mind is an archetype building machine. Not only is your mind an archetype building machine, your mind is a generalization machine. You know what that means? Anything you feed the mind, it will generalize it to everything else. If a black child is raised to believe God was white, the mind of the African child will assume all white people are divine. And if everyone is inferior to the Almighty, if the Almighty is white, then black people naturally should be inferior to the European. In America, we talk about the inferiorization of black children. And I have to often let the community know our children were not taught to hate themselves by white public schools. Not initially. They were taught to hate themselves at black Sunday schools at church. We gave them white Jesus. We gave them white angels. We gave them white prophets. And you wonder why they feel inferior. Because if God is white, by contraindication, the devil must already be black. And you know what's interesting about this? When you go throughout Africa, when you go throughout antiquity, when you go throughout our history, when you go throughout our culture, when you look at the artifacts in anthropology, you find what? That the image of every divinity in ancient history looked like us. There is no white prophet nowhere in the ancient world. Nowhere. Everybody was black. Buddha was black. Krishna was black. Show me a white God. But you come to the black community and you see nothing but white Jesuses all over the wall. I remember I was in Ethiopia and I love me some Ethiopia. And I'm looking for a picture of a black Jesus and couldn't find one in Ethiopia. Snow bunnies everywhere. But I thank my Ethiopian ancestors because when I got to the airport, Addis Ababa, I went into one cultural shop, plane was about to board. I said, I cannot leave Africa without a black Christ. And he had these beautiful leather, sheets of leather, where there was paintings of different scenes from the Bible. And I finally found 3 of them in a row. Chocolate Christ with a nappy afro. And I still have them today. Black power! We want black power! Pan-Africanism means that we identify as being African first. Pan-Africanism means that I'm African who happens to be a Muslim. I'm African who happens to be a Christian. I'm an African who happens to be a Swede. I'm an African who happens to be a Brit. I'm an African who happens to be a Mason or an Elk or an American. African is first. Why? Because God made you African. Everything else you made and your family made. Your family made you a Christian. Your family made you a Muslim. You can give up being Swedish. You can give up your religion. You can give up your profession. You can give up everything you belong to except your race. God made you African and there's nothing you can do about it. And my beautiful African sisters, you stay trying to do something about it through your hair. Weave season. Ladies, if it ain't nappy, I ain't happy. And sisters, one day you got to give up the processed hair. You have to. You know why? not just for cultural and psychological reasons, not just to raise the self-esteem of our daughters, but a big reason why our African women have to give up your weaves and perms and relaxers. It's literally killing you. Cancer, because of them chemicals. Do you know the stuff they sell you to put in your hair? They're not allowed to sell it to their own women in Korea and China. They're not allowed to sell it to their own women because of its toxicity. But they'll send it here and you'll buy it and put it on your head. I just saw a study the other day. They looked at the top 10 weave and perm products in the world for black women. Top 10, and all 10 of them had carcinogens in them. And now we got black women with all these fibroid tumors y'all never had before, breast tumors y'all never had before, brain cancer y'all never had before, literally dying to look like a snow bunny. And so ladies, I need you to start working yourself back to natural. Start working yourself back there. You can go a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time. If it was up to me, I would tell you to go cold turkey. That's what we do in psychotherapy. When you come in and you an alcoholic, we're not going to wean you off of alcohol a little bit at a time. We're going to cold turkey that ass. I want to cold turkey you. I want you to go home tonight with the spirit of the ancestors and just shave it all off balls. I want a bald head on my sisters. I want a big forehead on my sisters. Shave it off. Because what you need to understand is, as long as you keep on nursing that bald spot, it ain't gonna grow. That ringworm patch ain't gonna leave. You gotta shave it all off and let it grow back. I'm telling you. And what African women don't understand is y'all wear all this extra hair, y'all don't even need it. Because in African culture, beauty is not in the hair, beauty is in the spirit. Come on, man. You don't need a bunch of hair. Your beauty is in your face. Cut off that fake stuff and let us see them pretty eyes and that cheekbones you got and them sexy lips and that little cute little African nose. That butter almond skin.